the decision of the court today, which cancelled the very ridiculous condition that had been imposed on me for bail, is a welcome one. That the High Court changed that condition from 30 million to 3 million. Even the 3 million is still excessive. Bail is not supposed to be a punishment. It is only supposed to be what can ensure that you come back to court. My record speaks for itself. I have been out on bail on capital offenses, on treason, on rape, on terrorism, on illegal possession of guns. I have got bail previously on these very, very serious offenses, which, if determined against you, can lead to a death sentence. I have never once failed to report to court whenever I have been on bail. On these capital offenses, some of which have lasted years before either being tried and dismissed, or my accusers, the prosecutor, withdrawing them, even without my knowledge.
1 week into incarceration, did this change or deter you from your campaign?
The conditions that were imposed were clearly not judicial conditions. And I think the magistrate who imposed them has a duty to explain to Ugandans what kind of conditions they were, because they were not judicial. And I hope that all other judicial officers will really reconsider their power whenever they are exercising their discretion in granting people bail. So we are even, I'm going to talk to my lawyers with a view of still appealing the 3 million condition that has been imposed on me. I believe that from all conditions, I qualify for non-cash bail. But in any case, if cash is to be imposed, it should certainly be a reasonable amount. Police officers, army officers, prisons officers who have been holding me get a salary of about 400,000 shillings. So how can you then consider that a bail of a minor offense, will be 10 times the salary, the entire salary of a public servant? It's clearly ridiculous. So I think the 3 million should also be reviewed downwards. The purpose of bail is to avail ourselves to trial. I have been accused countless times, but at no single time have I ever had to defend myself in court.
Doctor, close to 2 weeks.
All cases have been dismissed without my need to defend myself. Clearly meaning that what we are dealing with is political persecution, not prosecution. So, for me, I have never had problem being in jail, because once I chose to oppose a brutal dictatorship like we have in Uganda of Mr. Museveni, I knew that I will meet all kinds of terror from the regime towards me and those who are in my situation. So I'm not at all, shaken or, feel sorry for myself or feel that, this is too much. No, I know that we can face worse. What we are fighting for is freedom and equal rights as citizens, equal opportunities as citizens. That's what we are fighting for. And there is no cost equal to freedom. We are willing to pay the highest cost in order to be free and in order to enjoy our rights in our country. So for me, 2 weeks in jail is nothing, absolutely nothing. That's why I cannot be deterred by imprisonment, if that's what they intended to do. So we shall start where we stopped. In awakening up Ugandans to fight for their rights and to fight for their freedom. We shall not stop.
What is going to be your next course of action?
Pardon?
What's your next course of action?
Starting from where you stopped.
Well, I've just said so, that we shall just continue with the campaign that we had of getting everybody to wake up so that together we push back to gain our freedom, our rights, including economic rights that are now greatly infringed. I was in prison sometimes reading news and being horrified that up to now people think that we are just protesting. We haven't suggested anything. The prices which are harassing everybody can change overnight, even with the current circumstances. If certain decisions are taken regarding our money, how it is used, and we have made proposals, if tomorrow the government expenditure is shifted from those who take it for nothing to the people of Uganda, the conditions of our people will change. Our children who are at home and can't go to school can go back to school with the money we have as a country, if it is not wasted on those who should not be using it. It's terrible to hear Mr. Museveni talk about parasites. There can never be a parasite that has lived in Uganda who is worse than Mr. Museveni. I don't think there is any such parasite that exists in our country or has ever existed worse than Mr. Museveni, who in these terrible conditions consumes at least 2 billion in his home. 2 billion in his home each day. Not in the office, not anywhere, even in the budget, the current budget. There is 1 month to the end of the financial year. In the supplementary budget that was passed last week, there is, I think, about 70 billion for State House. 77 billion for State House. 1 month remaining. That is, how can you be such a parasite when people are sleeping hungry? This is 77 billion of your taxes. This money can change a lot of things in our country. This is the second supplementary. So even what is passed, like they have said, this year, I think they have passed something like 80 billion for State House. That will be consumed by October. They will come back for supplementary. So the money we have, even before we talk about other changes, can change the conditions our people live in today. If cabinet was reduced from 82 ministers to 15, like the United States, which is the biggest economy that has 15 ministers. If Kampala now, we have 467 councillors. Kampala. What for? You know, the members of parliament, 500 and something, advisors of the president, who has ministers, all those ministers are supposed to be advisors. But on top of all those ministers, he has 100, I think about 120 advisors, also paid like ministers. You know, all this, you know, the wastage on what they call security, classified expenditure and so on. So there is a lot of money that can change the conditions of our people today. And that will not happen unless our people wake up, get together, and we say enough is enough. And that's what we are going to be doing until they hear it. We are not going to stop.